Hello and welcome to CNBC TV 18 2021 Rewind Special. I am Anuj Singhal and with me is Prashant Nair. It's been all about the bulls this year. We have seen the Nifty hit record highs of 18,600, then some profit booking to 17,000. But the index has given returns of close to 22%. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll look at the year gone by and what's in store in 2022. To discuss this, we'll be joined by Saurabh Mukherjee of Marcellus and N. Jaikumar of Prime Securities, both market veterans. But here's, how 2021 panned out. Very interesting. If you see the yearly returns, the Nifty is up 22%, the mid-cap index is up 42%, and the small-cap index is up 53%. This really was a year of portfolios. Portfolios made a lot of money. Retail investors made a lot of money. Within that, if you see the sectoral churn, there was leadership change. IT has now firmly established itself as the leader, up 55% this year. Metals up 68%, real estate up 53%. But what stands out is on the bottom, the Bank Nifty and Nifty FMCG were actually the big underperformers of this year. Very quickly, a look at the top gainers of this year. Tata Motors right on top, up 155%. Hindalco, Wipro, Tech Mahindra. So basically, it's metals and IT once again dominating. But for me, the real highlight was what you will see in the next plate, which is within the banks. SBI is up 66%. Kotak Mahindra Bank is down 12%. ICICI Bank outperformed HDFC Bank by a big number. And that's really been the one developing story of 2021. But that's 2021. Let's go across to Prashant to find out what can we expect from 2022. Prashant.
Well, thanks very much for that. Now, for much of the year in 2021, there was no doubt that liquidity conditions globally will remain easy, but doubts started to emerge in the last quarter of 2021. If we see a removal of liquidity, will it make the path for markets, global markets, a lot more tricky, right? So are we looking at a much more uncertain kind of year as kind of a linear up kind of market we had for the bulk of 2021? The second related question is, will inflation remain as elevated, right? Right now, everybody's worried about inflation. Central banks are expected to abandon the easy money policies because inflation in many countries is very high. And this is a what if, but what if inflation is actually not kind of more, not structural, but transitory? Then would removal of easy money be a policy mistake like what we saw maybe back in 2018? The next question, will emerging markets finally outperformed developed markets? Huge underperformance by EMs as compared to developed markets. Actually, EMs have underperformed for many years now, and this is a question which gets asked this time of the year more often than not. Could the underperformance reverse? A couple of points on China. Now, China is easing, clearly easing, right? Will the stock market there start to perform? The equity market in China, the mainland market, has been a big underperformer, even within emerging markets. And with China easing policy in a big way now, could FIIs, foreign investors, give that market a relook? What about technology shares in China? I'm talking about not IT services or hardware, but internet companies. And this is interesting. The total market cap of the top Chinese internet companies is a little over $1 trillion now. Apple is worth more than double that. Can we see this space start to perform? In the middle of 2021, we saw comments like, there's a wholesale shift away from China internet because of the policy crackdown to other markets, and India is a big beneficiary. So maybe there are implications. Supply chains moving away from China, will the trend continue? Many industries in India have benefited from this move of global supply chains away from China. Will we see an acceleration, continuation, or a reversal? And lastly, what about, commodities? The general expectation is that we'll have a stronger dollar environment through the bulk of next year, which is not great news for commodities in general. So those are, a couple of questions to ponder over. As I said, this is by no degree a comprehensive list. There are a million other things which we can talk about. But make no mistake, 2022 promises to be another interesting year. Back to you, Anuj.
Oh, yes, it does. And joining us on the show now are Saurabh Mukherjee, founder of Marcellus Investment Managers, and N. Jaikumar, Managing Director of Prime Securities. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for joining us. Jakes, you have seen many market cycles. How does this one look like? And what can we expect from 2022?
I think given the kind of run that we've had, some degree of an index, I would say, if not a fatigue, but I think the index needs to consolidate. I think time-wise, definitely we need to pause. We need some of the multiples to sort of normalize, if you will. And I think we've had a spectacular run. A lot of those factors, to my mind, will still continue. But certainly the easing of, the sort of the tightening of money conditions overseas means that FIIs will continue to be at the margin sellers as the index level rises beyond 17,500. So I think what could continue is maybe for the first quarter of next year, at least for the first quarter, you could have a continuation of FIs selling and locals continuing to buy. And there's a very interesting reason which we can debate as to why that may still continue. And I think that an index move beyond 18.5 would be difficult to come by. As long as the index remains pretty much range bound in the 16.5 to 18,000 Nifty range, people can make their bets in terms of what specific stocks to buy. But I think this could be, at least for the first half of the year, a period of some degree of index consolidation.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining in. Prashant here. Saurabh, what's your sense? More trickier as compared to the last 2 years?
It looks like we're in the early stages of what promises to be at least another 2 years of economic recovery, perhaps a little longer if we are lucky. And therefore, as we've probably said hundreds of times on CNBC, that if you follow the tried and tested path, look for clean companies, well-run companies with great franchises, you're maximizing the chances of consistently compounding your wealth. I would strongly urge people out there not to get too suckered into these perspectives that come in every time in the early stages of an economic recovery. There's a rate hike. I remember distinctly, I was a broker in the UK in 2004 when the Fed started hiking, and very similar sentiments were articulated then that the best part of the bull run is behind us. We had the blazing rally to 2005, 6, and 7. The Fed continued hiking. So a rate hike in the early part of an economic recovery usually is a precursor to an extended rally.
Okay, Saurabh, I wanted a bit of a micro, question answered here. Just going through the recap of 2021, what stands out is the rank underperformance of the erstwhile great franchises. I mean, 1 year could be an exception, but names like HDFC Bank and Kotak have underperformed, while stocks like SBI have really surged, ICICI as well. Are we reading too much into it, or is this signaling something?
So I think, Anuj, this happens again in the early part of an economic pickup. If you have banks which get dismantled in a certain economic cycle, as happened to many of the PSU banks and as happened to ICICI Bank due to the specific circumstances around that bank. And then you had COVID hitting, right? You couldn't have asked for a worse combination actually for the PSU banks and for ICICI Bank, just as I think Mr. Bakshi was doing a wonderful job in resurrecting ICICI Bank. COVID hit. So obviously in the run up to, if you take, I think July 2020 or June 2020, I would say would be the nadir for PSU banks and ICICI. Obviously, in the subsequent recovery, they have done very well, as you're showing on your screen, and that's always the nature. Early stages of economic pickup, the previous cycles underperformers will do well. But as you go further into an economic recovery, the age-old ability of better run franchises in terms of maintaining credit quality as the economic cycle gets older, maintaining credit discipline as an economic cycle gets older should come through. So if you look back in Indian history, 2003-4 also, you'll have seen PSU banks and at that time the lower quality private sector banks do well. But it's the real test of a bank comes in as the economic cycle wears on and credit discipline becomes more important.
Sort of briefly, you compared where we are to 2004. I don't recall at 2004 valuations at 23, 24 times. I mean, stocks were very, very cheap. Markets were very, very cheap back then. I mean, does that make no difference?
In the context of how global equities looked then, people didn't perceive it to be cheap, Prashant. As I said, I was a broker back then in the UK. And I remember numerous British and American investors telling me that we've had a great rally over the last 12, 18 months. and the Fed has started hiking. Now it's time to take risk off the table. So this whole perspective that you compare PE multiples and you're able to get a perspective. What looks expensive today in the context of history, at that time, real time, it was a very similar dialogue. Very similar things were said, that the Fed has started hiking. The best part of the rally is behind us. And there's nothing new. I saw this again in the early 90s, 91, 92, 93. I was just coming out of school in the UK. The rate hike cycle began again. People said similar things, and again we had a 4 or 5 year rally. So point I'm making is the first 1/3 of the economic recovery, you will get rate hikes. If you didn't, the central bankers would lose their jobs, right? Their job is to tighten liquidity as an economic recovery picks up. Typically, you get markets doing pretty well as the economic cycle wears on. When markets get overextended, when the economy runs out of juice, but the central bank is unwilling to resuscitate the economy because of inflation reasons, that's when you have a challenge. At this juncture, I don't see any problem with either the Indian economy or the global economy running out of juice.
Yeah, in fact, Jakes, I want you to also come in on this, because a lot of people say this is going to be similar to 2003 to 7 cycle. I mean, I started my career in 2003, and I distinctly remember. And that bull market felt something else, right? I mean, for a lot of people, that was still perhaps the biggest bull market. But will this one be bigger?
There will be periods in time when the index will stabilize or consolidate, while the markets will pick their own winners. I mean, I think the last year was a telling commentary on those who sort of go back to the time-tested, as I said, the FMCG and the well-run stocks thesis. I think Kotak is a fantastically run bank, and yet it underperformed some of the other banks, especially SBI. So I think it is not often that we can go back to time-tested truisms and continue to make money. I think there will be periods. I think the specific question was what will happen in 2022 if we were to take a look at. I think the really important thing that's happened is, while most central banks and most countries gave fiscal and monetary stimuli to their particular economies, the Indian government actually did not spend their way out of trouble, in a manner of speaking. We got, I would not say saved, but we got sort of hugely benefited as a result of now close to $40 billion walking into the early stage financing space. Now that is where our liquidity is coming. So it's like equity money having walked into India through the early stage financing, which is about $40 billion now over the last 18 to 24 months. And that has meant that the kind of impact that would have downstream in terms of whether it's housing demand, employment, enterprise, people looking at consumption, etc. The entire revival has been as a result of the early stage financing of nearly $40 billion. This is equity money that's walked in, which is the reason why you feel and you see the kind of liquidity that's been able to counter, even when about 80 to 90,000 crores of money have walked out over the last now nearly 2.5 months of trading through the FIs. So my thesis is that if money tends to get tighter overseas, the FIs will continue to be at the margin sellers, but local liquidity, local savings, and the kind of local money coming into the unlisted space, the early stage financing space, will be the sort of counterbalance for this. And from that perspective, even though the Indian government has spent much less, and paradoxically at that, normally tax collections are not as bullish as they have been in this current year. In fact, they have gone way past expectations in the first 6 months. Yet the Indian government has spent much lower than what they would have spent in most fiscals, where they end up spending about 65 to 70% in the first 6 to 8 months. But in this particular case, they've actually spent only 25 or 30%, which means that if this divestment program were to get going, and the spending of the Indian government also came through in tandem, I think that spending and movement of money into things like the infra space or the capital goods sector could be where the winners could lie next year. Even though from an index perspective, we may still, as I said, be in a consolidating.
Well, gentlemen, stay on. We have a lot more questions for you, but for now we need to take a break. We'll come back with N. Jayakumar and Saurabh Mukherjee.